Hi, everyone. I'm Anne-Marie Green.
And I'm Vladimir Dutit. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin this hour continuing to track Hurricane Florence as it gets closer to making landfall in the eastern United States. Officials are warning of dangerous storm surges in coastal areas. Heavy rain is expected to cause significant flooding.
Mandatory evacuation orders are in effect in both North and South Carolina as the Category 4 storm prepares to make landfall. Well, CBS News weather producer David Parkinson joins us now to talk about the progression of this storm. So where are we at now with this hurricane? There are, warnings sort of up and down the East Coast around North and South Carolina.
Right. So we're beginning to feel that Virginia is dodging this bullet, and the mid-Atlantic states, which got plenty of inland flooding already this summer, may eke out of that one. But the wind speed's still significant in this storm, 130 miles an hour. The storm moving to the northwest at 15 miles an hour. And we're now closing in on the 500-mile mark from land. Here's the thing, though. As that storm gets closer to land, it is going to slow down because the steering currents that were moving it are just going to run out. It's just got nowhere to go. And so that's the problem. We are now getting more and more confident this thing is going to make a left-hand turn, almost a 90-degree turn to the south. And that is where things get really interesting because you pound certain areas with 36 to 48 hours of rain and storm surge. So here is the track from the National Hurricane Center. You can see by Friday morning it is just down to a Category 3 at 8 a.m. But see that line through that 3 there? That line is anywhere on that line the storm could be Friday at 8 a.m. And the important thing about that is it could have made landfall, which is the right end of that line, or it could still be out in the ocean. If it's out in the ocean, it is stronger because it does not have the friction of the land. So that's the bad news. The other thing is as that storm makes its move to the south, you have a counterclockwise spin around it. That's what you always have because it's a low pressure system, right? Hurricanes are areas of low pressure. So here's what happens. It's piling all of this rain and all of this storm surge onto the coast. So here's the dip from the spaghetti models. You can see it, and then it's going to make its turn. We don't know exactly where it's going to make the left or the right. It could be in South Carolina. It could be in North Carolina, but that's irrelevant. It's an academic difference because all the while you are getting hit with rain, wind, and storm surge.
So for those who might not know, what exactly is storm surge and why is it so dangerous if you look at some of the rivers that are going into this region?
So what storm surge is water rising, right? So it's essentially if the normal height of the water were right here on this table, you're now having whatever it is above that, that's the storm surge. So when we're talking about a 15-foot storm surge, right, we're talking about the ceiling here. We are over a foot. Sorry, not over a foot, over a story of a home, over a story of a building. And that's why it's so critical for folks, especially in those red and orange shaded areas on that map, to evacuate. And that is anyone right along the Neuse River, along lots of the Albemarle Sound, into parts of the New River as well. That whole Tidewater section, all of the water is pouring into it because, right, the counterclockwise spin around it, you see all these arrows, that's pushing all of that water in from the ocean, and it's got nowhere to go because it runs into these rivers. And so that's what's happening. It's piling up there. And then when you have all this rain, right, here are your rain totals, 30 plus inches of rain, that rain has nowhere to go. And that rain has nowhere to go because it's pushing all of that rain all of that storm surge onto the shore. So the rivers, which usually go out and are an outlet for that rain, instead don't do anything, and that's where you're going to see parts of or entire towns along those rivers underwater.
So 2 questions then. Yeah. How long will this storm last? How long will it be sitting there before it dissipates? And then how long will the effects of the storm last?
Right. So in terms of how long the storm will last, we're looking at a period beginning Thursday evening all the way through potentially midday or evening on Saturday, where that part of North Carolina is in the worst of the storm. So it's going to start to ramp up on Thursday evening, which is why today is your day to get the hell out.
That's what the governor said.
Right. I mean, there is no reason to risk this. This is a storm that it doesn't matter the wind speeds, it doesn't matter the central pressure, it just matters the track it's taking is not one that we've seen before. And that's why, despite all 3 of the threats being in play here, the wind, the rainfall, the storm surge, it is the storm surge that kills more people than anybody else, and it is the storm surge which is why you need to evacuate. And that is why, if people are worried about Raleigh and Charlotte, yes, you could have freshwater flooding in those locations, but that is not the giant killer that storm surge is, and that's why the coast needs to get away.
Good advice. Hopefully people who are watching our broadcast will understand the dire predictions that you and others are making and heed the warnings. David Parkinson, thank you very much.
Hope so. I really do. Please, if you are on the coast, please get out.